Now you have all heard of the Titanic and its famous sinking, killing over 1,500 passengers. Well, here are 5 lesser-known sinking disasters that claimed even more lives. SS Sultana 1865. The SS Sultana was a steamboat which sank on the Mississippi River in 1865. Whilst on a voyage to New Orleans, a leaky boiler forced the steamboat to dock for repairs. However, due to costs, a partial repair was completed and she continued on her fateful last journey. Suddenly, at roughly 2 a.m. on April 27, 3 of her 4 boilers exploded, instantly killing her captain Mason and over 500 men in the boat's pilothouse. The explosion significantly weakened the structure of the boat that resulted in the top deck collapsing onto the middle deck, trapping most people on board. The rescue boat, the Bostana, arrived to rescue the few survivors, but it was too late. Out of a total of 2,128 passengers on board at the time, over 1,600 died in the sinking. It remains the worst maritime disaster in America's history. Joola 2002. The Joola was a Senglinese ferry with a design load of 580 passengers that transferred its passengers on a weekly basis from South Senegal to Dakar. On September 26, 2002, the Joola was on its usual journey, however, with an estimated 2,000 passengers. This was nearly 4 times higher than the vessel's safe designed load. At roughly 11 p.m., the ship sailed directly into a storm and sadly capsized due to very high waves. As a result of the time of the incident, no rescue boats arrived until the next day. Out of the 2,000 passengers on board, only 64 survived. An investigation into the accident concluded that the overcrowding was the main factor in the cause of the sinking. SS KIANGYA 1948. The SS KIANGYA was a Chinese steamship that left Shanghai in December 1948 packed with refugees from the Chinese Civil War. It is thought that the ship hit a sea mine which was left over from the Japanese invasion during World War II. The mine created a huge explosion that immediately destroyed the ship and left most of its passengers in the chilly Huangpu River. Out of the 4,600 initial passengers, over 3,920 perished in the Huangpu River, making the casualties nearly double that of the Titanic. It was at the time the worst non-military ship disaster. However, this would be surpassed nearly 4 decades later. The MV Dona Paz 1987. Built in 1963 in Japan, the MV Dona Paz was a passenger ferry that transferred people from Tacloban to Manila in the Philippines. On December 20 at approximately 6 a.m. while most of her passengers were sleeping, the MV Dona Paz collided with an oil tanker, the MT Vector, carrying over 8,000 barrels of oil. What followed was one of the worst ship disasters in history. Upon collision, the Vector's cargo ignited, resulting in a huge fire on board the Dona Paz. The fire and loss of onboard lights not only caused many people to be instantly burned alive, but also to panic and jump into the shark-infested Tubeless Strait. The accident killed over 3,984 passengers and both ships sank in a little over 2 hours. An investigation found that before the crash, an apprentice was left watching the ship's bridge, whilst most crew were watching movies and drinking beer below deck. MV Wilhelm Gustloff. The MV Wilhelm Gustloff was a military transport ship for the German Army during World War II. Initially intended to be named MV Adolf Hitler, it was built in 1938 and measured over 208 meters long. On the January 30, 1945, the Wilhelm Gustloff had just left East Prussia, evacuating 10,000 German troops from the approaching Red Army, when it was spotted by the S-13 Soviet submarine. At approximately 9 p.m., the S-13 sub launched 4 torpedoes at the Wilhelm Gustloff. The engine room was directly hit and the huge explosion killed many experienced crewmen aboard. This contributed to the reason why so few lifeboats were launched. As the ship sank, Many of the surviving passengers were at the mercy of the Baltic Sea, where the temperature was just above 3 degrees. Over 9,600 people died in this tragedy, making it the biggest maritime disaster since records began. Thank you so much for watching. Please click the subscribe button for more weekly videos.